Welcome back, everyone. We are going to talk about our journey as trauma therapists and the modality that we treat trauma with. We are from similar places, Richmond, California, and I think it's important to share because it's a part of both of our stories, whether or not we knew it initially going into the field. But we also have very unique ways that we support folks who are living with the effects of having gone through some really difficult stuff. So I support folks through EMDR, and LaQuisha does through EFT. So we will get into it about why we got into the field and how we're treating trauma. So why do you specialize in trauma?
You're making me laugh because before this, I was like, I didn't choose this field. This field chose me. And like I joke about that.
Yeah.
But also there is some like truth rooted in that. Because when I was younger, I don't think I grew up saying like I wanted to be a trauma therapist. Like that was not what I envisioned for my life, but God had different plans for me. And I don't mind. I'm actually excited. His plans are always better.
Right.
But growing up, like you said, growing up in Richmond, California, I was exposed to it. I didn't have a choice whether or not I was exposed to trauma, even though my parents did the best they could with like creating like a safe haven.
Right.
Once you step outside your home,
It's a different story.
it's a different story. You get what you get.
Uh-huh.
And not only that, just even like personally in family systems and things like that, there were people who were struggling that, I didn't have language for it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but also there were some things going on. So, friendships, family life, and just being out in the community, you see things and you get curious and like, what's this about? And then, I went to college and I was like, oh, there's a school of thought for this.
There's a whole
There's a
field.
whole field for this. So I got intrigued and yeah, haven't left since. What about you? What brought you to the field?
What I know now to be true is different than what I thought of why I wanted to be in the field. So even in high school, I knew I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. I wanted to help folks with coping with mental illness. I witnessed it in my family. And both my immediate family and my extended family, no one really talked about it, but we knew something was going on. And I come from a huge family, and I was one of the younger cousins. And I have older siblings and a lot of older cousins too. So, being one of the younger ones in the family, you get to witness rather than experience firsthand some of the things that folks experience in inner cities with under-resourced and family complex dynamics.
Yes.
All the things. And so I was just like soaking it up. And even as a young child, I was very quiet, but I was very observant. And I used to suck my fingers. So people always know me from like sucking my fingers and just having big eyes, watching everything. And my family, I love them. And I knew that like in high school, there was a different experience because I went to school in El Cerrito than just a couple cities over.
Yep.
How it looked geographically, how the streets kind of transitioned and the trees got greener and you start seeing more stores. So I witnessed what it looked like to live in my community and then go into school in a different community and just the atmosphere felt different. And I always wanted what I experienced in El Cerrito for us in Richmond. So I think there was a difference, and I was like, hey, there's a way, but we just got to bring it over here.
Yeah.
I have siblings who have some stuff that I was able to witness, one of my younger siblings, and wanting them to be treated fairly and knowing that they wouldn't. So I was like, I'm going to get in the field so I could support folks and their families who had this, experience. And my journey through school looked a little different. I went psychology major. And then I went to study, apply for clinical psychology. And in my personal essay, they was like, you have a huge commitment to your community. Why New York? Why are you interested in coming over here to And I was like, well, that's true. And so I really revamped what I was going to do, and decided to stay in the Bay Area, because supporting my community to me feels like supporting family, being
Yeah.
that personal touch. And I worked at a trauma center because I've had family members go to the hospital, for trauma related injuries or medical emergencies, and had a very terrible experience. And I wanted to support people
Yep.
in crises to be able to know that, support is available. So I had always been interested in my direct community and trying to have an impact. And now what I know is, it takes one to know one. I
Mm-hmm.
think I bring that to the spaces. I know what it's like to witness it, to experience it, and also know what it's like that there's resources and
Yeah.
a beautiful life free of stress, free of persistent stress. Stress will
Mm-hmm.
always be there.
Yeah.
Um, is possible. So that's what brought me to the field, and it's heavy, and it is difficult, and it is ongoing. And so there's always going to be a space for people who are genuinely concerned about bettering the conditions for folks. And this is a lifelong commitment, which I feel this is a space that I can do for the rest of my life. But it
Yep.
also forces me to learn to take the best care of myself, because I know of the effects.
Exactly. Exactly. I hear you. I feel the same way. Like I don't know what life would be like if I wasn't a trauma therapist. I do feel like it's a calling and a
Yeah.
purpose for me. And for a while, I kind of like, I don't want to say I ran from it because that wasn't true. But to even be on a platform like this, I'm like, really, God? Like, you want
Right.
me to do that? Like, no, I just want to be in my bubble in my corner and just help
Yeah.
people. Like, and you know,
I'm just gonna
uh,
do my therapy thing, and
yeah, that's it. Um, but yeah, it's like, like I hear you talk about the passion, and yeah, for me, it's like specifically women of color.
mhm,
Just wanted to create a safe space for them to get what they need, because we know that, all spaces are not created equal in the therapy world. And that impacts the healing. Like you go to therapy to get healed, and then you get traumatized based on like lack of education or, awareness and cultural humility, like all of those things. So
right. Yeah.
having a space like that is so important.
Yeah. In all healing spaces, right? Healthcare, there's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of um, terrible things that, people experience when they're seeking help.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a completely different experience of a white person versus a non-white person,
Mm-hmm.
even in diverse metropolitan areas, that we see the effects of healthcare biases and discrimination really impact people's ability to have access to support. So
Yeah, for
wanting
sure.
to literally be the change,
Mm-hmm.
what is
Mm-hmm.
possible for us.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And I think there's a study out around, black women feeling pain differently.
Oh yeah.
We don't feel pain as much as our counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see how that definitely impacts treatment across the healthcare profession, right? Um, and we can get into that another time, but that's highly problematic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is important for us to be in these spaces.
Yeah. And even how mental health is talked about in healthcare and even behavioral health. A lot of times we don't fit into the diagnoses perfectly, or there's a
Mm-hmm.
misunderstanding of our experiences. It does require a level of intentional cultural humility at all times to try to support people where they're at. All Black experiences are not the same. Not everyone from Richmond had the experience we've
Yeah.
had.
Mm-hmm.
Not all Black folks live the same journey.
True. So
And
true.
so having a diversity is really essential for
Mm-hmm.
quality care, and for people to find someone that they feel can help them with the most difficult parts of their life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Quality care, 100%. I've worked in establishments and I've heard some things and some language that people use, specifically when they're talking about people of color versus, counterparts. And I'm like, I wonder how this impacts their treatment based on like your perception and your view of them, right?
It does. And it does. We are not free of it either, right? Just because
Mhm.
we're Black don't mean that we're all Black practitioners are, you know, um, you know.
That's true. Skin folk ain't kin folk, what they say, something like that.
And
Mhm.
so it really requires a lot of different perspectives in the field to provide care for folks who are really needing it,
Yeah.
requiring, when you get to the point where you need to go to the hospital, where you need to speak to a therapist, you already over your threshold. You're already outside of your window of tolerance, whether that's physical or emotional. You need someone who's willing to like see you as a human being.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not no need to be perfect, but like, hey, I got this stuff and I need help with it. We're always
Mhm.
asking people, ask for help, ask for help. It ain't always safe.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. And what I hear you saying too, what came up for me is like check your privilege at the door, right? And again, we're human. Like sometimes we make mistakes, but it is so important to be mindful of that. Like the privilege and the power dynamics that we bring into the
Right.
room, right? And even, like socioeconomic status, like that can play a big part in, perception and
Yeah.
treatment, all of those things for sure.
Yeah. And even, our education, the fact that we are educated professionals who still belong to the community that we serve, that there's some privileges and folks have their biases and their perspectives on stuff. So it really takes a lot of work to even be in the field and be mindful of the varying needs that folks come with.
Mhm.
Um, we try to do our best, and I know that one of the things that can be helpful for all of us as practitioners is to know you're not perfect. Know that there's always space to learn from others. Like the client, the patient comes in, they're
Mhm.
their own expert. They've been with them longer than I've known
Oh
them.
yeah. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
to say, well, how can I help you?
Mhm.
I've been
Mhm.
helping you all this time. What can I do for you?